Okay, time for a little war story. I was reminiscing about this recently. Thought you'd get a kick out of hearing it. So let me set the stage. The Alternative Minimum Tax, or AMT, was originally put into the law in 1969, but it was greatly enhanced in 1978. It was passed by Congress to cause millionaires to have to pay more federal income taxes. That was a year in which I was a little behind on my needed hours, so after tax season I wanted to learn more about the alternative minimum tax. I looked around for some training, found an 8-hour course being offered in Beaumont, Texas, so I paid my money and signed up for it. It seems innocent enough, but this is where it all started to go wrong. Texas is a very large state. You can draw an 800-mile equilateral triangle inside Texas. Start with a line from El Paso to Texarkana. That's about 800 miles. Draw another line from Texarkana to the border town of Brownsville in far South Texas. That's another 800 miles. Then finish off the triangle measuring from Brownsville back to El Paso, 800 miles. I hadn't lived in Texas for very long at the time, and I didn't have a clear idea of how huge the state was. My wife and I, along with our 3 little boys, were living in the Austin area. Beaumont was very far away from my house in Austin. So, great planning. The night before, I figured out that to get to Beaumont was about a 5-hour drive. At the time, there was a lot of construction on the interstates in Houston, which was going to add a bunch of extra time to my trip, maybe as much as an hour. The class started at 8 a.m., and it hit me that I had to get up at the ugly, unpleasant hour of at least 3 a.m. to make it to the class on time. So I set my alarm and woke up to start my wee hours, pitch-dark, unplanned road trip. I made it in time for the class. Barely. But I soon learned I made another big mistake. The teacher was an academic professor from some local Beaumont college. A nice enough guy, but his teaching style wasn't good. You never know what you're going to get. He was boring, monotonous, overly academic, and I was tired from getting up so early. Not my regular time to wake up and get started on a regular day. And the class was highly technical. Oh, and it lasted all day, all the way to 5 p.m. Yeah, you guessed it, another 5+ hours of driving ahead. When I finally got home, of course everyone was already sound asleep. It was really late at night. I collapsed into bed, completely spent, and slept in most of the next day. And incidentally, I burned a lot of gasoline that day. Fortunately, gas was a lot cheaper in those days. At the seminar, I had gotten lots of materials about the new alternative minimum tax, though they weren't organized well enough for me to find them very useful. Fortunately, I didn't have any current clients who were affected by the new AMT, and my tax software improved over the next few years to almost always compute the AMT correctly, and I learned enough about it to be able to check the computation. This is sort of a long story, but it has some good points. First, I learned I shouldn't take any more blind out-of-town courses. Second, I learned to avoid 8-hour courses. I like my training to be in smaller, bite-sized increments, no more than 3 or 4 hours each. Third, this wild trip was just a greenhorn mistake on my part. It was an adventure that I don't ever want to repeat. And fourth, as you know, I started a group of now more than 100 CPAs, tax lawyers, and EAs. And here we all are. By the way, tax preparers have continuing education requirements. And the way things change because of IRS announcements, regulation changes, and court cases from all over the country, it's hard to keep up. But we're on top of all that around here. Every month we send you tax updates specially formulated to keep you on the leading edge professionally. Good for 3 credit hours in all states. It's cheap, too. To find out more, see our website at taxpracticegroup.net or send email to hello@taxpracticegroup.net.